Hi there, Kalyn here with a Paper Smooches card tutorial for you. Today I'm going to be using the Biddy Bungalows stamp set from Paper Smooches as well as some watercolors. So I'm going to be making a card that you could really give at any time, but it's going to say love from our home to yours. So it'd be great for maybe a new neighbor or someone who's moved or something like that. So I'm just going to be stamping my houses and using some Versamark watermark ink to do that. And then I'm going to be using some white embossing powder over top. So I'm just taking my white embossing powder and sprinkling it over that watermarked image and then getting rid of the excess. I always do this just on a piece of scrap paper that I've folded in half so that I can easily just kind of dump the excess back into my embossing jar. So then I'm going to stamp my second and third houses, repeating the same process, just stamping in that watermark ink and then sprinkling the white embossing powder over top. You could actually heat emboss each house as you're going along so that you don't actually mess up the powder that you've got on there, but I'm a risk taker, I guess, so I just went for it so that I would only have to heat emboss once. So now that that's all set, I'm going to be taking my embossing heat gun and just going over those houses, making sure that embossing powder is nice and melted and all set. So now you can kind of see the outline of those houses. It's not going to be super visible because it is white on white, but that's the whole point because we're going to be watercoloring over it eventually. So now I'm taking that really cute sentiment and I'm going to be stamping that using the Walnut Stain Distress ink from Tim Holtz, which is my go-to brown ink. So just inking that up, and you'll see here I have a, whoa, there it goes. My ink pad got away from me. So yeah, you're also going to see that when I stamp this down, and it's might be a little hard to see, but the Y on the bottom line of the sentiment, for some reason, just there must have been extra ink on there, and so I got an annoying little splotch of ink. So I'm going to be covering that up later because, you know, there are always accidents in crafting and you just kind of have to go with the flow. So now you'll see I'm taking my watercolor set and I'm just going to start painting over top of the houses. So I'm doing kind of a purple, orange, red, sort of just warm toned color scheme here. And you'll see as I'm watercoloring over the top of these houses, they are the embossing is resisting that watercolor. So it's really cool because you get to see that those white houses stand out and all you're doing is just coloring over top and that embossing takes care of the rest. So you will just see me here blending out these three colors and just kind of getting them nice and saturated and wiping off some of the excess as I go. Now, had I really thought this through, and I'm new to watercoloring, so I'm learning as I go, had I thought this through, I would have actually done all of this on a panel of cardstock and then adhered it to a separate card front. That way, kind of the warping that happens when you add water to paper wouldn't affect my card as much. But what I did with this is after it was dried, I let it sit under some heavy books so that it flattened out a bit, and that will help. But like I said, if I could do it again, I would watercolor on a separate piece of cardstock and then adhere it to my card. So now I'm going to be adding in some little hearts, which I just think make the card even cuter. So there's a solid heart in the set, and I'm going to be stamping that for that middle house, and I'm using Raspberry Jam Hero Arts Shadow ink, which is one of my new favorite colors from them. So just stamping a couple of those solid hearts in the middle house, and then taking the little smoke heart stamp and putting that on the chimneys of the other two houses. So I'm just using some orange and pink ink for that. Then I'm going to be taking this Grand Bazaar collection from Basic Gray in their little 6x6 paper pad, and I'm going to be picking out a piece of paper to cover up that little splotch I talked about earlier. And I actually really like the way this turned out. I just think it kind of grounds the card anyway, so you know, sometimes mistakes work out for the best. So I'm just cutting a little strip of this pretty purple cardstock and adhering that to the bottom of my card. So now I am just looping some baker's twine around my card front, and I'm going to secure it with a bow. And this baker's twine is from the Twinery. I really like the golden yellow color of it. It just matches the card really nicely, I think. So that is going to finish off the card. I really appreciate you watching. Thanks so much. And be sure to check out Paper Smooches for the stamp set I used.